I never meant to ruin anyone's relationship. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I wasn't trying to start drama. But one conversation during my lunch break ended up exposing a secret that had apparently been going on for months. And by the end of the week, 2 people had broken up. One person had quit, and somehow everyone blamed me. A few years ago, I worked at a fairly large office with around 40 employees. Most people kept to themselves, but there were a few friendship groups. One of those groups included a guy called Jake and a woman called Sarah. Jake had been with his girlfriend for about 4 years. Everyone knew about her because he'd constantly talk about her. Pictures on his desk, photos on his phone, the whole thing. Sarah, meanwhile, was one of the most popular people in the office. Friendly with everyone, always laughing, always involved in workplace events. Looking back, there were probably signs that something was going on between them. But at the time, nobody really thought much about it. One day I was eating lunch in the break room. It was just me and Sarah. We were making small talk when she suddenly mentioned a restaurant she'd gone to over the weekend. I told her I'd actually been there before. Then she laughed and said, "Jake recommended it to me." That seemed normal, until she followed it up with, "It was actually our anniversary dinner spot." I remember staring at her. Our anniversary? I genuinely thought I'd misheard. So I asked, "Wait, anniversary with who?" The second the words left my mouth, her face completely changed. She looked shocked, like she'd accidentally said something she wasn't supposed to. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Then she awkwardly laughed and said, "Oh, I meant my ex." But the damage was already done. The way she reacted made it obvious something wasn't right. I didn't push it. I just finished my lunch and went back to work. Honestly, I forgot about it, at least for a couple of days. A few days later, I was working late. Most people had already gone home. While walking back from the printer room, I passed one of the meeting rooms. The lights were off, but through the glass wall, I could see 2 people sitting inside. Jake and Sarah, alone, in the dark, holding hands. At that point, I knew. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't gossip. I didn't confront them. I figured it wasn't my business, but apparently fate had other plans. A week later, the office had a company social event. Partners were invited. And for the first time, I finally met Jake's girlfriend. She was incredibly nice, friendly, polite, the type of person you instantly like. At some point during the evening, we ended up standing in a group conversation together. We started talking about restaurants. And without thinking, I said, "Oh yeah, Jake and Sarah love that place." The second I said it, Jake nearly choked on his drink. Sarah looked like she'd seen a ghost. And Jake's girlfriend immediately asked, "What do you mean?" I tried to recover, but it was too late. Everyone had noticed their reactions. The conversation got awkward fast. Jake started stumbling over his words. Sarah suddenly needed to use the bathroom, and his girlfriend looked completely confused. The rest of the night felt tense, very tense. The next morning, the entire office felt different. People were whispering. Managers were having private conversations. Nobody would tell me exactly what happened, but eventually I found out. Jake's girlfriend had confronted him after the event. Hard. Apparently, she'd already suspected something for months. My comment wasn't proof, but it was enough for her to start asking questions. Questions Jake couldn't answer. Within days, everything fell apart. The relationship ended. Sarah requested a transfer to another department. Jake stopped talking to almost everyone. And somehow people started blaming me. They acted like I'd deliberately exposed them, like I'd planned it, when in reality I had absolutely no idea what was going on. Even now, years later, I still find it funny. Not because their relationship ended, but because I accidentally uncovered months of lies simply by talking about a restaurant. One careless sentence, that's all it took. And the entire secret came crashing down. What do you think? Was I wrong for mentioning the restaurant, or was the truth always going to come out eventually?